Just recently, The Marvels was released in theaters to a mostly negative response, with some people even calling it the worst Marvel movie ever. And even though this movie is not great, good, or even above average, still I feel like I could easily come up with at least 3 MCU movies that are way worse than The Marvels. Or to go better with the title of this video, the holy trinity of bad MCU movies. Number 3, Captain Marvel. This movie actually gets a couple of extra credit points from me just because of the Stan Lee intro. As the movie begins, all that is established about Captain Marvel's character is that she's too emotional and needs to control her powers.
There's nothing more dangerous to a warrior than emotion.
You struggle with your emotions.
Control your impulses.
One of my biggest pet peeves a movie can have is loading up the first act of the movie with hella exposition, because it's just a lazy way to explain stuff. Luckily, this movie isn't a drag like I remembered, because this shit quickly goes into a big-ass battle between the Kree and the Skrulls. It's also in this scene where Talos and that Skrull who's cool with Nick Fury brain warps Captain Marvel's mind in order to extract information about some shit we haven't been told about yet. So we're shown flashbacks to Captain Marvel when she was still Carol Danvers. Little Carol Danvers. I thought the reason Captain Marvel was so serious all the time had to do with the fact that she was kidnapped and got her memories wiped and shit, but no. I guess Carol Danvers has always been boring as fuck. Once Captain Marvel regains consciousness, she conveniently falls into Earth right through a blockbuster. That's right, baby. We got 90s nostalgia in this movie. I actually really enjoy the dynamic between Carol and Nick Fury because it feels pretty genuine. I also love the Skrulls. The entire concept of the shape-shifting aliens infiltrating our world and taking over by impersonating humans is dope as fuck. The only reason I even watched the Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes show when I was a kid was because of the Secret Invasion storyline. Unfortunately, there's nothing that cool happening in this movie. In fact, the Skrulls aren't even the bad guys in this movie. They're barely a threat, to be honest. It turns out Captain Marvel was actually on the part of the bad guy side, the Kree, which we already fucking knew.
I will unfurl 1,000 years of Kree justice on Xandar and burn it to its core.
But here we are watching an entire film to discover that the Kree are evil. And to be honest, it's not even like the Kree are further developed in this movie. Rather than spend time actually showing us the Kree's perspective about the Skrulls or even showing them doing evil things throughout the movie, it's just disguised as this big-ass mystery, which in my opinion makes the Kree seem like a bunch of one-dimensional bad guys who just want to kill the Skrulls because reasons.
They betrayed me, they didn't keep their promise, they tricked me, and I don't care anymore.
A lot of people hate on Brie Larson's performance as Captain Marvel. It's not her fault. Her character has shitty direction.
You have no idea who I am. I don't even know who I am.
What?
The problem with Carol Danvers as a character is literally the character Carol Danvers. She always seems uninterested in what's going on. She's always like sarcastically bland or angrily confused during this film, and it's really uncomfortable to watch. Like it deadass feels like this.
People say that time heals all wounds.
That guy she keeps calling throughout the movie is clearly her teacher or mentor in some way. But is there more of a connection? Do they love each other? Is there another reason he saved her other than the fact that she had glowing hands? Am I asking too many questions?
Hey, you don't have to raise your voice.
But hey, who needs all those important questions answered when instead we could have a random dumbass scene where Lil Monica changes Captain Marvel's color scheme like she's editing a wrestler on SmackDown vs. Raw. Oh, and I don't know if you remember, but this movie takes place in the 90s. If not for the 90s nostalgia in this movie, it loses like 60% of its cool factor. To close out the film, Captain Marvel beats up a bunch of bad people, including that one guy. I still don't know bro's name. My verdict is that I don't hate this movie, especially compared to the next 2 movies that I'm about to verbally massacre. But Captain Marvel is like a 5 out of 10 movie. It's not a rewatchable film, and there's no moment in this movie that really brings me joy. Number 2, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Misrepresentation. Almost everything about this movie
Sucks.
but not everything. The one aspect of this movie that kind of slaps is the directing. Raimi's presence is definitely felt during this movie. Like, I know I'm watching a Sam Raimi movie. There are a lot of aspects of this movie that are very unique and different in contrast with the regular MCU movies, but not always for the better though. The thing I've always really liked about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies is that they really found a way to balance out a huge depth of characters while also telling a coherent story that made sense. There was some romance in there, sprinkle a little humor in there, and a lot of heartfelt scenes that made these characters feel authentic. And I'm here to tell you right now, Doctor Strange don't do none of these shits well. Now I'm gonna cut Sam Raimi some slack because when you look back at the Spider-Man movies, every character was built up over time through these huge events which forced these characters to develop over the trilogy. But in this movie, Sam Raimi has to introduce a brand-ass new character that's OP as fuck.
It's over 9,000!
Tries to legitimize the relationship between Steven and Christine that hasn't been shown at all for 7 years.
Because, Steven, you have to be the one holding the knife.
Why the fuck do I care? Then there's Wanda's character.
Dear God, no.
If you watched WandaVision, you basically wasted your time because this movie sums up the events of that show pretty quickly. And Doctor Strange is like, that shit doesn't even matter. Hey Marvel, if you want people to watch your long-ass series on Disney Plus, you could at least not waste our time and make your stories more cohesive.
You know how much I sacrificed?
At the end of WandaVision, Wanda gets a hold of the Darkhold. Too many holes in that sentence. Becomes a Scarlet Witch and loses vision, but who the fuck cares? If Wanda was gonna just become inherently evil, why put so much emphasis on Agatha in the show?
Who's been messing up everything?
It's been Agatha. Oh, shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Wanda's entire character development happens off screen.
The Darkhold only showed me the truth.
What the? Huh?
Everything I lost can be mine again.
What the hell's going on here?
I'm going to leave this reality and go to one where I can be with my children.
Huh? What?
And like, while I'm watching this movie, I'm just like, did Sam Raimi not see WandaVision or something? Like, I don't get it.
Well, I proposed that to the writers who wrote Multiverse of Madness. I said, do you know what we're doing in WandaVision? Have you seen it? And no, they had not seen it because it wasn't finished yet.
America Chavez is basically just like a MacGuffin character that has to learn how to control her powers.
Trust your power. That's how we stop her.
Generic! So, months before the release of this movie, there was speculation of potential cameos that might be in this movie. Deadpool, what? The X-Men, Fantastic Four, Batman, Messi, basically everybody. And then after suffering through 90 minutes of this lackluster ass movie, we finally get a few cameos, all at the same time, in that Illuminati scene. And it's one of the worst scenes in all of the MCU. It honestly feels like a robot chicken skit. I'm sure you've probably seen the memes about Reed Richards being the smartest man alive. So smart that he tells Wanda about how to stop arguably their strongest player. And then Wanda just dogs everybody with ease.
How do you feel after that?
How the fuck you think I feel? Don't ask no dumbass questions.
And the Illuminati team has zero reaction when one of their members is getting killed. It makes these characters even feel like they're aware that they're a cameo. Like, they're not even, like, alive. They're just a part of this story, and they're just supposed to die. 3 out of 10, but I will say that Zombie Strange scene was pretty dope. Before I get to the worst MCU movie, let's quickly cover some honorable mentions. Thor: The Dark World. This movie isn't really that bad. It's just really boring. This is the closest thing you'll see to like a DC type of film within the MCU. Bland story, gray color schemes, and a villain whose main goal is destroying stuff and getting a glowing orb or some shit. Thor: Love and Thunder. Another Thor movie, but this one is actually worse than the previous. The Eternals. I'm not even really sure how I feel about this movie. I know I don't like it, but I'm not sure if that has more to do with the characters or the story. I low-key feel like this is one of those movies that'll get better as the MCU continues and we learn more things from these characters. But for now, it's here. Number 1, Ant-Man 3. The entire movie looks ass because the setting is in this neon-filled cluster disaster. The story is whack. The humor is awkward.
All right, we're outside. It's like we're camping. We love camping.
We've never been camping.
But we've always talked about it.
Ant-Man's character trajectory seems stagnant. Seems like he's going backwards. I guess he needs a pep talk from his daughter about saving the world, even though he's already saved the world multiple times.
I literally saved the world.
MODOK.
What the hell is even that?
The dialogue is terrible.
Scott Lang, the man who took everything from me, who stole my whole life.
This being Kang's first outing as a main villain, you'd probably assume that he'd look dominant, but nah. In his first outing as a major villain, he loses.
I thought you were bad. You ain't bad. You ain't nothing.
This isn't the worst MCU movie in terms of action. I guess you could say this movie is like a D+ in the entertainment department. But the reason this movie sucks and feels so hollow is because at this point, the Ant-Man crew feels useless. Michelle Pfeiffer is given way too much to do in this movie. And if we're being honest, Michael Douglas doesn't even seem like he wants to be in this shit anymore. I don't know what it is about the Wasp in this movie or the MCU in general, but her character just doesn't really interest me at all. So whenever I see Hope, I lose hope. But those characters are just stale. They don't ruin the movie, but Cassie ruins the fucking movie. Her character doesn't have any flaws.
Your daughter built a subatomic Hubble telescope in a basement.
Wow, it's like you could say it 3 more times and it still wouldn't make sense. I understand Scott's supposed to be like a dumbass sometimes, but like, does he always have to be a fuck up? Shouldn't he grow as a person, get wiser, do better? I would give Ant-Man Quantumania a 2 out of 10. If you agree with my comments, let me know. If you don't agree with my comments, let me know. And more importantly, if you like this video, like it!
Oh no, he died!